Astroponics. It's very similar to hydro or aquaponics. It's a specialty life support systems for the production of plant and animal products in microgravity, lunar, or Martian environments. This is Darren Marchant with American Nomad News, and I'd like to introduce you to the idea of astroponics. You may be familiar with hydro or aquaponics, that is usually soilless gardening, where water is the main medium by which the plants receive their nutrients. In aquaponics, you use fish to add nutrients to the water, and the plants help purify the water for the fish. It's a semi-closed loop system. In hydroponics, you add chemicals to a base water supply like a large tank. These different systems are implemented in a variety of ways, but they're becoming quite common in the world. Astroponics, though, is very new because manned spaceflight is very limited. Our opportunities to grow plants or animals or other life forms like fungi or what have you is very limited in space. When we start to contemplate, though, advancing manned spaceflight, and that's the non-gendered manned, as in humanity, into space, we're going to be faced with the difference between shipping all the necessary supplies to these space environments or growing them in situ. That is to say, in place. But these places are so foreign to our experience, be it the vacuum of deep space, microgravity, or the very low gravity on the moon, the lunar environment, or the environment of Mars with an only moderate gravity. And the soil on the moon and Mars may present some challenges to traditional soiled gardening. These plants you see around me now, they're growing in soil that has microbial life and fungal life that supports the plant growth and even insect life. They are surrounded by an atmosphere that is conducive to the way that they are arranged to survive, are conducive to their survival and reproduction. The seasons of Earth are conducive to the cycle of growth of these plants, and so they thrive. But in the vacuum of space, in the vacuum and low gravity of the moon, and in the very different soils of the moon and Mars and different atmosphere of Mars, any plants or animals we choose to bring, just like ourselves, will need their own life support systems. And the science behind these systems is called astroponics, or can be referred to as astroponics. The term itself is a contraction The prefix astro denotes space, and ponics is Greek, if I remember correctly, for work. But in modern parlance, hydroponics and aquaponics, aqua actually means water, and hydro means water, and ponics in both means work. So it's water work and water work. But they're different varieties, and in modern parlance, they're basically referring to controlled environment production of fish, animals, and plants. So astroponics is meant to denote the production of plant, animal, and fungal products in the space environment. And in the foreseeable future, that's probably going to be in orbit around the Earth, in deep space between the planets, on the Moon, and on Mars. So the next step in this process is to understand certain things. One, we already know that humans have significant health concerns with microgravity. That's why astronauts regularly exercise in special exercise equipment, and future space stations are strongly considering centrifugal designs. The interesting bit is that on the International Space Station, plants and other life forms have been kept for periods of time to determine their suitability for the space environment. Cats and birds have even been exposed to short-term microgravity on the parabolic airplane that is referred to as the vomit comet. Now, the lettuce that has been grown on the International Space Station grew just fine in microgravity. So that tells us a very interesting piece of useful information. That is, that not all plants, and presumably perhaps some animals, may not actually need 1 g of centrifugal gravitational equivalent pressure on their body, on their functions, in order to thrive. So that means that perhaps we could have space stations that have sections that rotate, surrounded by an encapsulation that does not rotate. And this mix of rotational and non-rotational environments can provide for a mix of life forms to thrive. Let's see, how many minutes we have? We're just at about 9 minutes. I like to keep these 10 or 15 minutes long. So this is going to be the end of the first introductory lecture, and along the way I'm going to introduce some more complex lectures, and right now I'm going to have to leave and do some fundraising. Thank you very much for joining me. Happy New Year.